So the video game industry has managed to turn out some of the most spectacular, evocative, and emotional pieces of media that our society has ever seen. Now, I'm not just using hyperbole because I'm part of this thriving community, but because it is genuine. As video games have clawed and scraped their way out of being seen as lowbrow and shallow entertainment into the realms of real critical note, we have seen a shift in the way that they tell their stories, how they involve the player, and how they make us scream, cry, and laugh with surgical precision. However, this is just one side of the coin, because on the other are titles that pull the entire industry down into the depths once more. Games which were not big, were not clever, and were in fact a blight on everything that we've been trying to move away from. Badly programmed, reductive, and sometimes offensive, the titles on this list make up but a short selection of games doing the dirty on an industry that we want to be proud of. In fact, given half a chance, I bet you we'd all want to erase these games from existence. So with this in mind, I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video games so bad you wish you could forget they existed. Number 10, Ride to Hell Retribution. When we begin a list with Ride to Hell Retribution, you know it's going to be a stinky one, as this game is absolutely pants. So much so that the lead never actually removes his clothes to have horrible fish-eyed sex with one of the many women present who apparently just absolutely get slimy at the sight of an unknown man beating someone else up in front of them. This is but one of the several horrible messages that Ride to Hell Retribution pushes as its overall experience, and joining this rampant obliviousness to sexual content are horribly dated graphics, abysmal driving controls, and audio that sounds like it was recorded a day before the release by one person using their mouth for all of the sound effects and the studio was a f***ing bin. It's a video game that is held together by the collective will of YouTubers making videos to laugh about it, but you know what, let's do this and ourselves a favour and put this rabid dog down for good. Number 9. The Walking Dead Survival Instinct. The video game industry was sent back to the Middle Ages when film video game tie-ins became all of the rage. Across this period, substandard content was being churned out from every possible IP looking to milk a few extra bucks from a license. Now thankfully things calmed down and actually decent adaptations began to arise, such as Telltale's The Walking Dead Episodic Adventure, which dropped in 2012, and this actually marked a shift in confidence for tie-ins like this, and the world seemed good again. At least until The Walking Dead Survival Instinct arose from its grave and stank up the place something rotten. Ruining the goodwill of Telltale's previous effort, this 2013 bomb was truly a zombie of the past, bringing with it dated graphics, extreme railroading that made the expansive world that was boasted by the devs feel like an utter joke, and combat that was more comical than creepy, seeing as players could just completely stand still and kill every walker with ease because they conga line towards them. It was an absolute horror show. Number 8. Bomberman Act Zero. God, where to even begin with this one? When you think of Bomberman, you think of a cutesy, adorable Hudson Soft mainstay who provided laughs and tense couch party sessions with its big blasts of fun, right? So why the hell did Act Zero take this and turn it into a gritty, uber-dark tale of revenge? Clearly, it wasn't to impress the fan base, as this was lambasted the moment the trailers for it began to surface back in 2005. Things would have been forgiven if the gameplay at least delivered, but this is where the game failed immensely thanks to a camera that couldn't follow the action and explosions that sometimes didn't even register to hit opponents. No, good, yeah, no thanks, I'm queuing up round the block to play a game with this lack of precision. It's a title whose name is actually quite fitting, as 0 is indeed the score I would give this game out of 10, and I wish that a mind bomb could go off in my brain so I could forget this BDSM dud. Number 7. Bubsy 3D. Tank controls in a 3D platformer. Q. Number 6. Dragon Ball Z for Kinect. On paper, this game was actually pure perfection. I mean, who wouldn't want to act out their childhood fantasies of literally becoming a Z fighter and using motion controls to batter the out of any and all would-be conquerors of the series? That sounds like a dream come true. However, Dragon Ball Z for Kinect ended up being a total nightmare thanks in part to the Kinect being about as responsive as a coma patient, resulting in attacks either completely not registering or making you feel like you were Yamcha trying to fight Perfect Cell, in that it was utterly ineffective. It's a shame as well because the game had some nice graphics and some good intentions. It's just a real kick to the Dragon Balls when you see how little attention was paid to how it plays. And when sitting alongside the likes of Fighter Z or Fighter Z, however you want to pronounce it, it just highlights how much of a failure this was. The only positive thing about this title is that it might actually awaken a true Saiyan among us because of how bloody angry it will make you playing this thing. Number 5, Superman 64. Oh, you can absolutely do one. This game is one of the worst experiences ever put to cartridge and is a huge slap in the face to fans of Ninty's brilliant grey bastard, the N64, and to lovers of the big blue Boy Scout. Excuses of a rushed development and a hamstrung studio thanks to corporate red tape still do not pardon the state of this game, which feels like it fails on every level to entertain players. Crushing time limits, awful controls that seem to have input delay, unfinished levels, draw distances that make you feel like you've got cataracts, and of course, the most infamous thing of all, the bloody rings. These goddamn rings are all I see at night, endlessly taunting me as they appear at angles too tight for me to turn the bloated meat zeppelin that this game classes as Superman. This game was utter kryptonite to the fanbase and needs to be banished to the Phantom Zone forever. Number 4, Drake of the 99 Dragons. Now, at first, everything seemed to be lining up for old Drake here, the titular antagonist from Drake of the 99 Dragons. He had a cool early 2000s look, aka shirtless with a duster, for the man who is both hot and cold at the same time. He had a cool job, that being of an undead assassin who was out for revenge for the fall of his clan, and was even in talks with companies to get toy lines, comics, and animated shows out with his face on. All that was needed for this glorious franchise to be born and for his legacy to be cemented was for Drake of the 99 Dragons not to be utter cack. Oh dear. With a camera that felt like it was the true final boss of the game, seeing as you battled against it at literally every waking moment, awful dialogue from a book of cliches that seems to have been lazily copied from, and combat that feels like you're shooting mere hopes and dreams at bullet-spongy enemies, Drake of the 99 Dragons is a chore to play. Although, to be honest, seeing what little splash this game actually made, there's a good chance that you don't even remember this in the first place. Probably all the better for it too. Number 3, Metal Gear Survive. Konami truly showed how bitter they were with Hideo Kojima leaving with this title, didn't they? In a huge middle finger to the man and his fans, Survive aimed to wipe the entire Metal Gear franchise aside and establish a new continuity. Gone was the stealth focus, gone was the intrinsically developed characters and over-the-top bosses, and in its place was a base-building zombie survival game. Oh dear, how the hell could they have thought that this was going to be successful? This was a move that signaled how much Konami was willing to chase trends instead of attempting to set them, falling back on too tired and overused gaming tropes and hoping that their IP would carry them through. What made this even worse was that the gameplay was less appealing than cleaning Fat Man's flaps by hand and felt lifted from every other generic action game with little attention or care applied. Survive ironically killed Konami's chances of amicably moving forward with the series, and it's a scar on the face of an otherwise stellar franchise. Number 2, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. This might well be one of the most infamous games, and say it with me kids, of all time! And you know what? With good reason. Because thanks to this title and the level of audacity that Atari was operating on at the time, E.T. is single-handedly responsible for the video game industry collapse of the 1980s. Or at least in hyperbolic terms, I mean that's how the media has painted this title. But is that warranted? Well, yes actually, because it was a rush job from a developer who was given little time to make the game, was paid upfront in full, and even admitted to phoning it in somewhat. Playing the title is confusing and arduous thanks to its unclear direction and apparent lack of focus, so much so that you can't even say that there's a good game fighting to get out of this one. No, instead this is just an example of greed incarnate, which became a literal piece of trash when it occupied a mass burial site for years after. Maybe we should try burying our memories of this game along with real-life copies. And number 1, Katana. When John Romero proudly stated to the world that he was going to make you his bitch with his team's latest offering, Katana, it wasn't actually a statement that immediately was met with contempt. I mean, after all, he and his force had earned bragging rights with the almighty Doom titles, and so being told that we were about to be brutalized even further actually kind of worked in the upcoming title's favor. That being said, Katana was less a bitch maker and more like slipping in dog down the park in your best trousers, as it was a foul embarrassment from start to finish. Fancy fighting against an AI that is meant to be on your side but will routinely stand in between you and your enemies, dying in a single shot? Or how about weapons that end up doing more damage to you than to your foes? And who wouldn't want to traipse around ugly, jagged levels with little indication of where to go and what to do? Well, if you do want any of these features from hell, Daikatana is definitely for you. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 video games so bad you wish you could forget that they exist. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below, as well as any other choices that you might have for your own absolute hit list. If you want to chat to me further, you can do so over on Twitter at RetroJ, or you can go to Live and Let's Dice, my personal gaming channel where I stream every single Wednesday and Sunday. It'd be great to see you over there. But before I go, my friend, I just want to say one thing. We detailed today about experiences that were so bad that you wish that you could forget them. And you know what? We can definitely apply that to our own real lives. Because you know what? We all make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Nobody is perfect. And the thing is that we should just not try to beat ourselves up about these. Try to find a balance of acceptance and forgiveness if you are capable of doing so, and use that to move on from them. Sometimes burying memories deep down isn't actually the healthiest thing to do. So if you're still hanging on to problems and mistakes that you've made in the past, then please remember you can speak to people about these things. Friends, family, professionals in the support industry, these people care about you and want you to do well, so don't go on suffering in silence. And remember, you're never alone. Big love from me to you. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.